Hey hackers, I am Alex from MLH here with your next stream at Global Hack Week Open Source. You probably know the famous Rosindo and Mary from MLH. I'm not quite as famous as them, but I am lucky enough to work with them. So happy to have you joining us for another awesome workshop today. Drop a note in the comments letting us know where you're coming from, what you're excited to learn about in this workshop, maybe any questions you already have. If you have any questions as well, just drop those in there throughout. We'll collect them and have a couple opportunities for you to get those answered. With that, I will be welcoming Will Johnson from the Auth0 by Okta team to join us today.
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Will. I'm a senior developer advocate here at Auth0 by Okta, and today I'm going to show you how you can integrate Okta or Auth0, sorry, with a React application. So my point is to keep this super chill, super laid back, no slides, just vibes, and just walk you through it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll probably stop in the middle to retain any questions and answer them. And yeah, so for people who don't know what Auth0 is a authentication and authorization platform. So authentication is when someone is being when they log in and it verifies who they are. So it's like if you show your ID somewhere and they're like, okay, this person is who they are because you have the ID, and then on a website you have like a username or a password or something like that. And then authorization is saying that this person has access to this particular thing. Like, if you go to a hotel, you may have a key that'll get you into your room, says you can get in there, but does that key allow you to access the pool or the members area or something like that? So that's the difference between authentication and authorization, if you heard the term auth before. But today we're just going to talk about authentication specifically in a React application. So this is a sample React application that we have. So this is one we have available for download, and you can find the link to this in our React guide. And this is the guide that I'm going to go through. So if you want to go through this guide with me, I'm going to skip some parts to be honest, but if you want to go through it with me, I'm going to share the link in the chat, and that way you can follow along. And if you want to do this afterwards, you'll have something that you can follow as well. But this has the link to this sample application. So this is a React sample application. It doesn't have like a login or anything like that. And we're going to add those features using Auth0. So let's get it started. So the first thing I want to do is go to auth0.com, and I'm going to log in. If you never created an account, you're going to have to create an account first. For me, I already have an account, so it's going to log me in, and I already logged in today, so it's not going to ask me for any type of login information. It knows who I am. So this is the Auth0 dashboard. This is where you make all of the changes that you need to make with Auth0 interfacing with this dashboard. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a new application within this dashboard. So I'm going to just open up the full menu, and then we're going to go to applications. Then once that's low, on this upper right hand corner, I'm going to click on create application. So we're going to do MLH React for the name. Then once you have the name for your application, it'll ask you to choose what type of application that you have. So if you're using React, React is a single page application, right? It's a JavaScript front end app. And then if you're using any type of communication with the backend or simulating the backend, you're using like an API. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the right type of application. So if you're using React, you want to go single page web application. So let's click create. All right, and then from here, it asks you what type of technology you're using. Now I'm not going to select these because we already like know what we're doing, but selecting one of these will take you to like a quick start that kind of shows you how to set it up as well. So that's also something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go to our settings. So if I scroll down, so a couple things is going to ask you. We're going to go to application URIs in the settings of your application, and this is going to ask for allow callback URLs. So the allow callback URLs, this is where you want the application to go after someone logs in with Auth0. So the way that Auth0 works is that when someone clicks log in, on your application, they'll get redirected to Auth0 endpoint to actually do the authentication process. So they'll actually go away from your website to ours. They'll put in their username, password, whatever they're using, social connection. If that is successful, you want them to be redirected back somewhere. So that's what allow callback URLs is for. So this one is, we're going to do localhost 4040 / callback. And for this particular application, the local host is 4040. Usually it's 3000 for like most React applications, but we set this to 4040. And so next is going to ask you for the allowed logout URLs. And then the logout URL is basically where does the user get redirected when they log out. So for this, we're going to put localhost 4040. And then the final thing is allow web origins. So for this, since React is a front end application, and then behind the scenes, when you're using Auth0, you do that redirect that I was talking about. Um, it's coming from the request is coming from a different domain. So you don't want to have any cross origin errors. So CORS errors is what people call them. So you want to allow this to take place, and it'll be just localhost 4040, and that will stop you from having any CORS error because you're saying it's okay for this request to come from this particular URL. So that's what that's for. So those are the three settings you change within Auth0, and then we scroll down and make sure that we save these changes. Oh, the StreamYard thing was covering up. So yeah, so make sure we save changes. All right, so we have the application created. So now we're going to go to VS Code, and you're going to create a environment variable file .env, and you do this within the main page of the app, right? So not into source, not into public, just right here in the root folder, a .env. And then the information that you put in is the Auth0 domain, the Auth0 client ID, and then the Auth0 callback URL. So I'm going to go back to our application. And then scroll up. All right, going to get the domain. Paste it here. And then I'm going to get the Auth0 client ID. Post that here. And then I already got the callback URL already set up. So that's there already, but you want to put in that callback URL that we set. All right. So I know I said a lot of stuff. So if we could turn the screen share off real quick, just so I can take any questions anyone might have. All right. So yeah, if anyone have any questions, just let me know. I'm down to take anything. If not, I can, wait a little bit and get back to it. So Cynthia, I'm not able to share the Google Doc. It's just a bunch of notes that I took just to keep me on track. But that the link that was shared earlier has like basically everything that was in that Google Doc, just more robust. That was just notes for me to keep me on track. But um I can reshare that link, and that way you can follow along. But yeah, Anish 891. Yeah, the session's not done yet. It was just taking a short break for some questions. Yeah, and like I said, if you want to follow along with what I'm actually doing, like I said, I am going to skip some parts, but if you want to follow along, that is the link to the guide right there. Why Auth has a 22-day free trial? Just to give you a chance to try it out, see if the features are working for you. But the free plan itself, so there's like tiers to the plan. The free plan, you can get up to 25,000 users within your application for free before you have to upgrade. Um, so yeah, so it can be free forever, but if you want certain features, then they will have to be paid. But so is you get access to everything for a limited amount of time, and then after that you'll go to the free plan, if that makes sense. Says there a sample code. So yeah, the sample code is in the link for the guide. So at the top of the guide, it'll have you download the sample application, and it'll be like a git clone command. And I can, if you want, just to make it easier, I can have that uh, be shared. I'm going to have them share the git command, and that way you can clone it yourself, but it is in that guide. All right, so I think that's all of the questions. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to VS Code, and then we're going to install the React SDK. So I'm just going to copy this command. And the reason I got this Google Doc up is like I'm going to control C to stop the application running. One, to just make sure that I'm covering all the points that I want to cover. And also because I really do not like typing in like settings like this. I always have a bunch of typos or stuff like that. So I like having stuff that I can just copy paste real quick. So to make sure it gets typed correctly and saves everybody time. So we're going to do within the application, we're going to do npm install auth0 react. So let's hit that. And so this is going to install the Auth0 React SDK. This is going to allow us to get the features for authentication to allow our users to log in and connect and communicate to Auth0. And I have this package.json up because this shows you information about your application. And as you see, once we hit that command on line 6, the auth0/auth0 react dependency popped up saying that it is installed in our application and able to be used. All right, so the first thing that we need to do first thing we need to do is connect Auth0 with this application. So the first thing we're going to do is create a, yeah, I don't want to type all that in. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm really against typing. All right. It's the easiest way to do it. All right. So back in our application, I'm going to go to the source file, our source directory or folder, do a new file, copy in the name. And it looks like I might have a space in the front, right? All right. So this is Auth0 provider with navigate.js. So this is the file they're going to use to connect Auth0 to our application and handle the authentication process. So what I'm going to do is going to take this code and then I'll explain what we're doing after, right? So it's not just going to be, I copy it and be like, all right, we're done. Did something wrong in the file name because it's not saving as a JavaScript. Oh, the space at the end. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so the first thing we're doing is we're grabbing the Auth0 provider from the Auth0 React SDK. Then we're grabbing the use navigate from the React router DOM, which is another dependency, which is like a third-party thing that you can download to add functionality to your application. So this application uses React router for the routing for React in order to visit different pages and things like that. So we're going to create this Auth0 provider with navigate component. Then we're going to take the navigate function out of use navigate from React router. And then we're going to assign the environment variables that we made here. So the domain, client ID, and callback URL, we're going to assign those to variables. So we're going to assign it to domain, client ID, and redirect URI. And that's going to be the callback URL. It's going to be the redirect URI. Then we're going to create a function called onRedirectCallback. So this is what happens when the person has logged in, it's been successful. What happens on the redirect, right? So we're going to use the navigate function, and then we're going to navigate to appstate.return_to, which is something that we'll set in later on in the section. So the value, whatever the value of appstate.return_to is where the page will navigate on the redirect after the person logs in. And then we'll check if there isn't any domain, client ID, and redirect URI. It'll return null. And then the actual component that we're going to use is Auth0 provider. We pass in domain, client ID, and authorization params, and on the redirect callback as props. And then the authorization params just basically tells you where we're going to redirect it to, and it's the redirect URI, which is the callback URI that we set here. All right, so make sure that that is saved. So the next thing we need to do is use the Auth0 provider that we created. So we use that by going to index.js. And then I'm going to import it into the file so it can be used. So I'm importing Auth0 provider with navigate from Auth0 provider with navigate, the actual file just going right up here. And then we're just going to take that and wrap it around the root and wrap it around app. And also it's important that browser router here this is something that's from React router. This needs to be the parent, or it needs to be in between browser router. So it can get access to the routing. that React router has. So that's an important piece when you're using React router. So we have browser router here. So I'm just going to paste in the whole thing, right? Auth0 provider with navigate, wrap it around app, close it, and then make sure that browser router and the closing browser router, make sure it's in between all of that. And then we're going to hit save. All right. So now the next thing we need to do is actually be able to log in to the application. So we're going to do that by creating a login button. So for that, I'm going to go to components and then buttons. And I already created the buttons folder. And then I'm going to do login button.js. Then I'm going to get the code from our handy dandy guide. All right, so now let's talk about what this code is doing. We're getting use Auth0 from the Auth0 SDK. Important to React. From React, that's like a normal React thing, not Auth0 specifically. We're going to create a component called login button. And then we're going to get login with redirect from use Auth0, which will redirect user to Auth0 when they log in. And then we're creating a function called handle login, and it's going to set that app state dot return to, and it's going to set it to the profile page. So when a user logs in, it will take them to the profile page because app dates dot return to was set to profile. And then we're going to return the button, and it's going to have the the words of log in, the text on the button. So Command S, make sure I save that. All right, so now we need to do a sign up button. And I'm going to copy the code from there. It's going to be pretty similar, but it's going to have one different aspect. All right. So again, import use Auth0, use a login with redirect, app state return to profile, same thing. But the one new thing is you're going to set the authorization parameters, add in screen hit as the property and sign up as the value. So now the Auth0, the SDK knows that you want this particular button to still like log a user in, but you want it to be sign up specific. So you add that to give it that option to know that's what you want to do. And then the next thing that we're going to do is create a log out button. So I'm going to just copy the code, go back to VS Code, create the login button.js, copy in the code. And then the big difference here is that you get log out from the use Auth0. Create a handle logout function, do the logout params, and return it to window.location.origin, which is in most cases going to set it to the home page. And it's also, again, what we set when we did the settings earlier. If you remember, we did the settings for the logout URL to be the home page. It was localhost 4040. All right, so now we have a login button, a sign up button, a log out button, all created by Auth0. So now we're going to be able to use those within the application and actually render. So for that, I'm going to go to components, navigation. I'm not going to do mobile for this workshop, but I'm going to go to desktop and I'm going to do nav bar buttons. And then I'm going to copy this code and then paste it in. And so what this is doing It's grabbing all three of those buttons, login button, log out button, and sign up button. It's creating a navbar buttons component. Then it's taking is authenticated out of the use Auth0. So this is what Auth0 uses for you to tell your application if the user is authenticated or not. And authenticated is another word for are they successfully logged in. So are they authenticated? So then if they're not authenticated, it'll ask them to log in and sign up. So that's what this will render. And if you don't know about, the bang symbol is basically saying that whatever the opposite of this is. So if is authenticated is not true, because then is authenticated is a boolean. It can be either true or false. So the bang is like saying is authenticated not true. So it's saying is this user not logged in? So if they're not logged in, if it's not true, then it's sign up and log in. And then if it is true, right, because there's no bang symbol here, then I want you to render the log out button. All right, and make sure that is saved. And that's them updating mobile. All right, so now I'm going to go back to VS Code. I'm going to go to the terminal, and I'm going to run our application. Okay, and now it's reloaded. It's got a login and a sign up button. So now this is what I'm talking about, right? This is how a user logs in with Auth0. So there it's been redirected to Auth0, and this is our login page. And this is from a whole nother workshop I was doing, but let's do it anyway. All right, so there it took me to the profile page just exactly as we redirected and asked it to. So now we've added the login, sign up, and the log out. So let's log out, and boom, it takes me back to the page. And there wasn't really a lot of code. You have the right to do that. You just use the Auth0 SDK, grabbed out a couple functions, and then plugged in your particular values. And that's where you're able to get to it. But something I want to show you. So when we hit login, it took me here. It's black and white, got the Auth0 logo. This is lime green again from another experiment thing I was doing. I made it like super loud. So you can also like customize that experience to your application. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to branding, then we're going to go to universal login. And then first we're going to do the company logo. And as you see with the Chiefs hat, I live in Missouri. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So we're gonna make it the Mizzou logo. I like that. I like that. And then let's make I need the hex code, man. All right, thank you. Let's make the button gold. And then we're going to make the background color black. All right, so now let's log into our application. Ooh, oh man, that is beautiful. I like that a whole lot better. All right, so that's something else you can do. And so this is just like the basic, right? So usually you more than likely you would need more than that. So we can come here to customization options and you can change colors, you can change the font, you can change like, the borders. Like if you want the border to be thicker or whatever, you can change the button style, make them round. Um, you can change like the position, of like where the box goes or where the logo goes, but you can change the position of the box too. And then you can add where you want like the login with Google and stuff to go. You can also change the background. And I think this would be a perfect background. Would everyone agree? So I'm going to change the background image. Yeah. So we're going to save and publish that. And we're going to go back to our application. We're going to log in one more time. Oh, what did I do wrong? Interesting. Might be something with the URL or something, but that'd have been great because it says all changes are live. So yeah, not sure why it's doing that, but yeah, you have lots of options to customize the universal login for the redirect so it matches your company, and the look and the branding that you all want to have. Um, and a couple other things before I stop sharing my screen that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll take some questions if anyone had any. But first, I want to show you, since we're doing like this is open source theme. This is a open source um, thing that Auth0 just launched. Our Auth0 Labs team is called Auth0 Components, and what Auth0 Components is it allows you to customize like the profile page, or like any user pages, and allows users to interact with Auth0 without you having to write that code yourself. It's really, really useful. It's one of my favorite new things that we have. So if you want to give this a star, they can share the link in the chat and you can give this a star and take a look at it, as we do new things. And the other thing I want to show you is, if you're not familiar, October is Hacktoberfest, and it's basically just a way to get more people involved in coding in open source. So we're doing Authtoberfest. So Authtoberfest, we're encouraging you to contribute to the open source community. You can be new or old, right? It doesn't have to be rewrite and react from scratch. You can do document changes and things like that. There's a lot of different ways to contribute to open source. But if you go to oktoberfest.com, it'll kind of show you what are some projects you can participate in. And you get to win this cool limited edition t-shirt if you're one of the first 100 valid submissions. And you can get, a cool limited edition t-shirt that no one else can get, that you can't get anywhere else but um, but contributing to Authtoberfest. So yeah, that's all I had for the workshop. So I'm definitely ready to take some questions if anyone had any.
There was one earlier, Will. We'll see if it might require a little bit of debugging, I suppose, but they said that they were getting a permission denied error when trying to create the clone. Any idea what might be causing that issue?
Usually, if I have an error like that, I mean, or it depends. Like, are you on like a school computer, a personal computer? Oh, okay, said they got it fixed. Okay,
Okay,
cool.
cool. Good deal. Any other questions for Will from the crowd here? Now's your time to ask anything you want to know about Auth0, security more generally, Auth0 open source. Feel free to drop your questions here in the comments and we'll pull them up for you all.
I do see one from MC Sizzle Bunny. It says that, so is this just like for where you want Okta to auth your users trying to log in, but once they're logged in, your own app does the access? So that's a great question. So for this particular scenario of what I was just trying to do, like an intro type demo, I mean, you could do that. I didn't show you like any access, but Auth0 does handle authorization as well. So if you want someone to access a particular page, if you want to give them a role like an admin or something like that, and they can access certain things, or if they only want access to a particular part of a an API, all those things are available as well. But just for this demo, I was just showing how to log someone in. Do people use Okta in conjunction with Cognito or in place of? That's also a great question. So and if you're used to developer stuff, the answer is it depends. So it depends on what you're trying to do. I have seen people use it with Cognito to use it if they want it. So for example, like a real life example that I've seen someone do is Cognito. And I'm not familiar with Cognito, but this is what the person told me. Cognito doesn't have as many social providers as Auth0 does. Like uh, Twitter or X, whatever, Google, Discord, and all Gmail, like all those options that you can log in with Apple. They told me that Cognito doesn't have as many options as they do. So, but they use Cognito at work, so they use Auth0 as like a proxy to get access to our social provider, so they can add more social providers than what was available in Cognito. So you can they can work together, but you can also use it separate. So it depends on what your use case is. A lot of times it depends on what work is doing, because they usually have, or I guess both. The answer is yes to both.
There are any final questions, drop them in the chat here. We'll keep on pulling them up. I'm going to disappear for a second. I'm going to let Will be front and center while he answers, but I'll keep an eye on the chat here and pull those questions up for him if you all have any others.
Yeah, let me know. Thank you, Christina Code. Yeah, Auth0 is a really cool platform, and it's continually to evolve and add new things. I think that is great that they're not, kind of staying the same. And if you don't feel like asking a question in the chat, or you want to, if you, I don't know, later at night, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep, and you have an Auth0 question, you can also, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always down to like help people and respond to questions and just, learn about what you're going through. So if you could share a link to my LinkedIn, that would be great. And also Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter. I don't call it X, but I'm super responsible there. So you can give me a follow as well and ask any questions. Even if you don't follow me, you can still send me a message and just ask a question. I'm an open book, and I'm willing to help out any way that I can.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any other questions coming in. Feels like we could go into debate here, Will, and if it should be called Twitter or X. I'm also in the Twitter family. I think everybody still calls it Twitter, and their URL, if you even search X, I believe, still points to twitter.com and then redirects. So I think that speaks for itself. But really appreciate you joining us to deliver this workshop today. Hackers, keep on with your Auth0 journey. We have 5 challenges to complete that you can check out as part of the Global Hack Week open source event. If you have any questions, head on over to Discord, and don't forget to register for today's workshop if you haven't already. Hopefully we'll see you at some other workshops and other Global Hack Week events in the future. Enjoy the event and see you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone.